Now we're going to look forward. So there are a lot of wonderful things to see in the sky this year. Most notably, and coming up very quickly, is a lunar eclipse, a total eclipse of the moon. And here's a beautiful picture of a lunar eclipse over Griffith Observatory. We will be open, even though it's crazy early in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. If you come up here, the gates will be open. There will be telescopes on the lawn. And if you don't want to come all the way up here, here are the times. You can see that it's quite early. If you don't want to come all the way up here, you can also watch our live stream feed. We will be live streaming, and yes, Larry, we will wake you up. Yes, he's asked for personalized wake-up call. But we here at All Space Consider try to oblige. Here it is, sort of showing where it is visible on the map. We get to see this one, but sadly we don't get to see the one in July. For this year, if you want to see a total lunar eclipse, be sure to either go outside on January 31st or to come up here.
Mars will be making its closest pass near the Earth since 2003. This happened about every 15 years, and so it'll look as big as it can look through a telescope at the end of July. Shortly after that, it'll become a public object here. Unfortunately, the night it's closest to the Earth is it's only highest at midnight, so it isn't in our regular telescope program until about a month later, but still it will be pretty big by that time. So
now, when will we start getting the emails about it looking as big as the full moon?
Did they ever stop?
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. You still do get them. If you don't know what we're talking about, have you ever seen these emails that are talking about the Mars is going to be as large as the full moon?
Yeah. You will.
You will, yeah.
Keep in mind, it can only look as big as the full moon does to your eye if you're using, I think it's about 75 power through a telescope, even when it's at its very biggest. So we have a comet called Virantin. I should have. Hey, Bill, can you help me out with this?
It looks like Virtanen.
46P, which will make a close pass, well, relatively close, at 7.1 million miles in December, and that will be the 20th closest known comet to us, the 10th since telescopes have existed. And although there have been closer comets, in fact, some of them are not visible, but we discover them after they pass the Earth. So, comforting thought.
But this, you think, might be naked eye.
Yeah, that's right. This is a comet that's actually very active and should be bright enough to see. Now, you'd have to get out of the city, unfortunately, but if you go out to the desert, it should be quite easy to see by naked eye. And then this is also a good year for the two biggest meteor showers of the year, the Perseids in the summertime. The moon won't be around to interfere, and the Geminids also will be moon-free. And the Geminids, I should say, in 2017 were quite spectacular, with probably close to that 120 per hour mark reached.
Great. And coming up, there's quite a lot of excitement for exploring the solar system. There are a couple of missions being launched. There's a mission to Mercury, a mission to Mars, and a mission to the Sun. You can see the launch dates below. Mercury in October, Mars in May, and the Sun in August. In October, this Bepi Colombo goes to the planet Mercury, our innermost planet. And I'm just going to say it, no one got the song. Did no one recognize the Colombo theme? Oh, it does sound like McLeod. Yeah, but no, that was Colombo. I hadn't heard it in like 30 years when Bill pulled it up. I was like, oh my gosh. So anyway, we thought we'd help NASA design the spacecraft a little better. Actually, it's ESA. Yeah, it's ESA. And then this mission to Mars, InSight. I don't know if you want to say anything else about it, but it will both launch and arrive at Mars in the coming year.
Yeah, this one has a seismometer on it. So.
Yeah, it's to learn more about the planet itself as opposed to looking for water or studying the atmosphere.
Also, this will likely be a quite spectacular Vandenberg launch. It launches like 5 in the morning, as I recall, 4 or 5 in the morning on May 5th. Vandenberg Air Force Base, California, about 180 miles, I think, from here.
And if you have a ticket, like Bill, you want to?
Yeah, there's a thing where you could submit your name, and it will actually go with the lander, and your name will be on Mars. And I asked our expert, Jared here, what font size it would be, and what did you tell me, Jared?
It will be 2 million names on 1 centimeter squared.
Yeah.
So if Martians are teeny, teeny, tiny, maybe your name will look really big. So that's a fun mission to keep an eye on. And then to the sun?
Yes, this is an exciting mission. This gentleman here is Dr. Eugene Parker, who is a famous solar astrophysicist. The Parker Solar Probe mission is a 6-year mission and will take the probe to about 10 times closer than Mercury is to the Sun and sample the Sun's outer atmosphere. It's going to be incredible. On one side, the sun-facing side, it will be 2,500 degrees, kind of blast furnace, and it has a shield that will keep the instruments cool behind it to about room temperature, which is an amazing feat of engineering. And if it fails, then the scientists will not be happy with the engineers.
That goes without saying. So not only to planets and to the sun, but we have a couple of rendezvous this year.
Going to asteroid Ryugu. Japanese probe Hayabusa 2 will attempt to, again, second asteroid probe they've sent, and this will attempt to bring rocks back from the surface. Another sample return mission is NASA's OSIRIS-REx, which will be visiting this asteroid Bennu, which actually is interesting because it could become a hazardous object to the Earth in the distant future, so they really want to learn about this object, but not for thousands of years,
right.
as far as so. And then there'll be a number of missions returning to the moon. India's Chandrayaan-2, which is their second lunar mission, will attempt to put a lander and a rover on the surface. And Chang'e 4 from China will be China's second landing mission on the moon near the South Pole Aitken Basin, which is actually on the far side of the moon, so the illustration's wrong, where you wouldn't see the Earth from there. Or maybe it's just barely on the side. I don't know how they plan communication. Oh, I'm sorry, there is an orbiter, so you'll be transferring information.
Some of you may have been following the Google Lunar XPrize, which has actually began in 2007 with the goal that you can win a $20 million prize if you land a rover on the moon, have it travel 500 meters, and send back high-definition images. Nobody has won that, and in fact, the deadline keeps getting postponed. So there's been another postponement. Now the deadline is March 31st. They have, however, in addition to the postponements, had 2 sort of waypoint prizes or milestone prizes if you're able to just get to the moon at all, either to go in orbit or direct. So we don't know if anybody's going to make that. Most all the entrants have not kept on their schedule and won't make it, but I believe there's one still. Yeah,
Moon Express, which is in Mountain View, California, has been working since actually 2010 on making lunar landers, and they've even worked with NASA on testing it and stuff. And then they entered the Lunar XPrize in 2015, I believe. And whether or not they get the Lunar XPrize, they plan to continue on, with test flights and stuff.
So we'll see.
Maybe
it's
by springtime.
Fun to watch. If it were legal, I would maybe start a betting pool, but I don't think I'm going to do that. A couple of things to look forward to in human spaceflight. There are 4 expeditions to the International Space Station coming up, which means launches of astronauts. And so there are the dates, there are the patches, and there are the people. We're not going to go through the details, but I'm sure in those All Space Considereds coming up in this year, we will tell you the details of who these brave astronauts are and what they're going to be doing on these missions. But just suffice to say, there's one in March, one in April, one in September, and one in November. Then there is also commercial launches.
NASA helped sponsor developing commercial crew capsules to get to the space station. So SpaceX stepped forward with the Dragon 2 capsule, and Boeing aircraft came up with the CST-100. And they're scheduled to have uncrewed test missions, SpaceX in the springtime and Boeing late in the summer. And then both might have crewed missions to the space station this year. SpaceX could do it early if their test flight goes well, and Boeing at least by December. And then if everything falls into place perfectly, SpaceX has 2 paying customers to ride a Dragon capsule on a totally automated flight around the moon and beyond, and then fall back to Earth. This one could go quite a bit farther out than the Apollo capsules went, and then it's designed to automatically return to Earth. I mean, what could go wrong?
And then lastly, in launch vehicles.
Well, at Cape Canaveral right now is a Falcon Heavy. This is a vehicle that Elon Musk dreamed of to put people into the solar system again. And this rocket is the largest, well, assuming it works, will be the largest in the world currently. It has more payload capacity than any rocket except for Russia's old Energia rocket, which I don't believe is used anymore, and the Saturn V that was used in the Apollo program.
So
And,
what is the important payload they're going to put on that?
What could you put in it to explore the solar system? Oh, well, yes, of course, a Tesla Roadster. Well, I suppose if you own these companies, you can put whatever you want in it. Normally on a rocket test flight, you'd put water or something, you know, just to give it some weight to throw into space.
And didn't Elon Musk say that's his Roadster?
I believe so,
I think it is. Yeah, I think
and it's
that's
supposed to be playing Space Oddity as it flies into space. And then it's going to be put in something called the Home and Earth Transfer Orbit. The main idea of this is about every year and a half it'll orbit the Sun, going close to the Earth's orbit, and out to Mars's orbit, although Mars won't be there at that time, and it also will maneuver so it doesn't land back on Earth. Musk wanted this to be in space for billions of years, as he said. So,
Okay, the second of the next generation geostationary weather satellites, GOES-S, will be launched and will take the place of the aging GOES-West satellite, which is currently there, and provide us coverage of most of western United States. GOES-16 currently provides coverage of the eastern United States.
And this new one has the same sensitivity as the one that got the good pictures of Irma?
Yes, high resolution, better than the current satellites, which were up there since 2010.
And if you're a fan of seeing iridium flares, you should go out and see as many as you can because they will cease to happen by the middle of this year. The old iridium satellites are being replaced by different satellites that just are not as shiny. So the idea of an iridium is that it had these very bright panels on it that were so bright that when they reflected sunlight it would be just super, super bright. And if you haven't ever seen an iridium flare, I strongly recommend that you do. I'm not sure we have those on our website. We ought to put those on for the...
Well, the problem is they're so local. You literally have to be within the right mile or so to see them. However, the predictions are easy to get, and they're phone apps and stuff. Heavensabove.com, which you can find linked on our website.
And we have to say carefully, heavens-above.com, because if you go to heavensabove.com, you will get ads on your computer you don't want to get.
Or you could have the word satellite if you're just searching for it,
Yeah.
and it'll get you to the right place. But yeah, it has local predictions. It tells you where to drive to if you want to see the brightest possible flare, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the Event Horizon Telescope is actually an array of telescopes. They're scattered across the globe. It synthesizes a scope about as big as Earth in terms of resolution capabilities. They used millimeter wavelengths to image black holes, the black hole at the center of our own galaxy and the black hole at the center of M87. Now, they're analyzing the data now, and they're going to show us the picture in 2018. So it might look something like this, which, no, okay, not that good. That's from the movie Interstellar, of course. It might look like this. This is what the National Radio Observatory, Astronomical Observatory put out for us. On the left is the simulation. On the right is what they expect to actually see. So the dark area right here is indeed the black hole. This is the disk orbiting around it, and just like in the Interstellar movie, you kind of can see the far side of the accretion disk around the black hole because it's being bent, gravitationally bent by the black hole itself. So very exciting. We'll see what happens. They didn't have a date as to when this would be announced, but hopefully this year. Yeah, it is 2018. Duh. Where have I been?
And another telescope that is going to be launched this coming year. Very exciting. It's a extrasolar planet survey telescope. So hopefully we'll increase. David will be reporting on a lot of extrasolar planets.
Yeah, this is going to look at all the bright stars in the sky, but everywhere all around Earth. Instead of just one little patch, it's going to look all over the place.
And now, astronomical phenomena are tough to predict when you've got things brightening and novae and so forth, but there is a prediction, and we covered this, I think, a year ago or two, that there will be a pulsar that flares up as it encounters its companion, and we'll see a big gamma ray and X-ray emission as it flares up. So that prediction is also for early 2018, so we'll see if the people who theorize that are correct. Also, very exciting for 2018 is more on the New Horizons mission. Now, you know the New Horizons missions very well because it went past Pluto in 2015. That's pretty cool. And it's on its way out to the Kuiper Belt, where all the comets come from. So, in fact, on January 1st of 2019, it is scheduled to encounter a Kuiper Belt object called MU69. So in order to do that, to make that rendezvous happen, they had to do a burn, spend a little fuel, and that was done in early December, and it came off just fine. And so, indeed, New Horizons is on its way to MU69, which is the name of the object that it will encounter. This artist's conception shows two bodies there because also, just this past month, there was a hint that, in fact, MU69 has a companion, has a moon. So that would be super cool if we got there and wasn't just one rock, but two rocks in for one. And I don't want to just diminish it by calling it a rock, because you could have said the same thing about Pluto, and look what we found at Pluto. So, you know, who knows what we're going to find there.
2 stones for one spacecraft.
2 stones for one spacecraft.
Oh, somebody got it at least.
This happens early in the morning on the 1st. So everybody's New Year's Eve plans are completely toast now because you have to be watching the encounter. And we will, I'm going to just boldly say, I can't imagine we won't, have some sort of event up here.
We're having a New Year's Eve party at the observatory?
Patrick, that means overtime.
So that would be super cool. Now, also in 2019, you might be wondering why I'm talking about it. Am I looking at it 2018? Is the launch of the JWST, James Webb Space Telescope. And the reason I'm talking about it is it was supposed to launch in the fall of 2018. And in fact, we've been talking about it for many years and looking forward to 2018, but in fact, the launch got pushed back. There is the actual telescope being in a clean room at Johnson Space Flight Center. And it is actually done with testing there, and it's about to come out to California, to Northrop Grumman, just south of the airport, where it will be doing final integration with the payload and get ready to be shipped off to the launch site. And I believe that we are working on making arrangements for Friends of the Observatory members to perhaps go see the telescope. So another good reason to join photo. Then finally, as we always do in January, our big annual meeting of the American Astronomical Society happens every January, but thankfully this time it's starting on Sunday, so we have All Space Considered first, and then the meeting starts on Sunday. So we will be bringing you results from all of that at our next meeting, next All Space Considered on February 2nd. David was looking on their website in order to find something about that Event Horizon telescope, see if he could see an announcement of when we might find those images of black hole. But instead, David, you found something else.
Yeah, it's something kind of curious. It's on Wednesday, one of the press conferences, the second one down. Special announcement from NASA. They don't say what it is. So is it the black hole, or is it... We don't know. So stay tuned. Come back next month.